Objection! Hello, everypony! I'm MasterCode, your ace analyst, and today we dive into the spooky and mysterious four-parter that is Maretime Mysteries. So technically, I did skip over this arc initially to review the Storm of Zephyr Heights first, because honestly that sounded much more interesting, to which I was right, but we'll get into that more later. Anyway, the story begins with every pony busy with various activities, except for Misty, who's got a whole plethora of activities like you could not believe.
Ornery, so ornery and sad, real wrong.
No, Misty is forlorn, still trying to find her place in the world. Not really interested in the activities presented by her friends. I was initially gonna argue that none of the rest of her friends offered her to come with them, but they were niche activities and Sunny at least told Misty that they could meet up for lunch later, so the burden of loneliness is squarely on Misty, which is not a knock on her at all, and is still an organic dilemma to her character. In Father of the Bridalwood, we saw how her and Alphabittle's relationship had to renew itself as she no longer shared love for many of the activities that the two had when she was but a filly, and thus would slowly rebuild that father-daughter relationship over time. And of course, being under Opaline's hoof didn't do much for her confidence either. And even though she routinely hangs out with every pony else, she's still kind of the odd one out in terms of their found calling. Sunny has her alicorn stuff and being the quote-unquote leader of the group. Hitch is sheriff and he's got his dragon dad thing. Zip has her future rulership. Izzy, unicycling? Pip has her social media and music career. And Misty has her magic and tea. Both things she can admittedly share with others, but nothing she's confident in making herself stand out as being useful to her friends, for the most part. Which ties into the next scene of her and Alphabittle discussing her woes over a game of checkers, which doesn't distract too much from the legit issue, and it makes the scene more visually interesting as they proceed to have a short but meaningful conversation between each other in their own unique way, using the metaphor of perfect tea blending to ensure that her time will come. All the while he's hilariously gloating that he defeated her daughter in the game. And of course, Misty takes her loss well.
Cute bitch.
It's a cute, funny, and well-written scene that feels like a real conversation between these two types of personalities. Anyway, at the suggestion of her dad, Misty goes out and seeks ingredients from a new tea shop in town, but is unable to find it. She asks the locals and they give vague directions to landmarks near it, but is unsuccessful in her venture and thus walks off depressed. Now, Misty moping this much, in this case, I had a minor problem with. It's fine that she doesn't know every single location in town, but the fact that she's treating this failure like she just utterly betrayed and lost all her friends feels a little forced to milk a little sympathy here. Just laying it on a wee bit too much. She eventually stumbles into an old antique shop where she finds an old board game called Maretime Mysteries. Clearly missing on playing Guess Hoof or Battle Cloud.
Cloud 2? You zapped my weather pony! You stung my bumblebee! My thunderbolt!
You sunk my battleship.
But she figures this is a good opportunity to get more acquainted with the city and buys it. After finishing her mission at the tea shop, which was conveniently across the street, she heads home and asks Hitch and Sunny to play. And with a roll of the dice, the game begins.
Feeling brave tonight? How brave? Brave enough to do battle with hideous monsters?
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
So the spirit, named Renee, is released upon playing the game, and much like Jumanji, affects the real world, literally trapping the gang in an enchanted dome around the city, and must beat the game by finding a magical enchantment stone, lest they be trapped in this purgatory for eternity if time should run out. Renee's design, while simplistic, is interesting with the big flowing tendrils for a mane and kind of creepy facial expressions, which kinda look familiar, don't they?
What'll I do? What'll I do? What an unusual view!
Chase them away! Chase them away!
Pink elephants,
From this point, the gang goes around searching and solving clues, leading to Renee giving them even new riddles to solve, coming across various characters, with the enchantment placing various wacky curses on the townsfolk, like everything in reverse or forgetting how to properly do certain actions, and just crazy shenanigans in general. And the artists do perform a good job with playing around with the various curses, and there are some decent funny gags throughout. Speaking of which, I figured out how to talk about the artwork at this point, done by Abby Bulmer, and colors by Valentino Pinto. I won't spend too much time here, as this is a near one-to-one transfer of Tell Your Tale in comic form. Like, the characters look almost exactly the same in overall design, from their bodies to facial expressions, the bean mouths, the over-the-top faces they'll sometimes have in Tell Your Tale. But in this medium, you can have much more unique and wacky facial expressions that make the humor that much better. Lastly, the cityscapes have a decent amount of detail, and again, the color palette is right out of Tell Your Tale. Anyway, let's get back to the story actual. The first issue, despite some minor problems, is a pretty solid story. We got a relatable dilemma for Misty to go through, the conversations between the characters were meaningful, and it ended on a good cliffhanger with the spirit unleashed. Issue number 2 is alright for the most part. It's mostly just them going around finding stuff. The only minor complaint I had is with Misty berating herself one too many times for cursing the town. I get it, I would feel guilty as well, but she restates this guilt multiple times and it just kinda hurts the pacing of a conversation, or just feels forced in general when it pops up. Again, I get the guilt that's supposed to set up Misty taking charge in the final issue, but just do it once and the reader can fill in the blank from there. The third issue is when things start to fall apart.
Don't you put it in your mouth. Don't you put it in your mouth. Don't you stuff it in your face. Don't stuff it in your face.
So the previous issue ended with them finding the enchanted gemstone, but now they have to find a key to reveal the gem's lore, which is at the library.
Pull the lever, Kronk. Wrong lever!
Eventually, the gang kind of sort of breaks the spell, the not really sort of kinda yeah. And the big reveal is that Renee is the one who caused this curse to be created in the first place and has no control over it, and now is remorseful over his actions, which is a complete 180 from earlier. From issue number 1 through the majority of issue number 3, he relished in Misty and the others not solving any game riddles and them being trapped in a cursed existence for eternity to suffer along with him. Oh, but now he feels guilty about his actions and is sorry he put everyone through this. Was he just playing up the tension to be a jerk? Why would he act like a stereotypical villain in the beginning? This just comes out of nowhere, and it's a sudden contrived face turn to milk sympathy for the character. We finally come to issue number 4, where Renee reveals his backstory, and wait, what? He looks exactly like he did in spirit form. I thought the comic was just giving a more ethereal, ghostly, abstract look, but apparently in life he actually does look like a goo pony. Why does he have such a sickly green color? Why does his mane and tail look like tendrils? Why was he intentionally being a jerk in the beginning?
It just raises too many questions.
So apparently, he was friends with some pony named Kyron, who promptly kicked Renee's flank multiple times in the game of Maritime Mysteries, and seeking satisfaction, he comes across a garnet pony? Who gives him the enchantment stone, and through a spell, Renee literally becomes the master of the game, trapping himself forever. Look, there's a way to make his character come off as sympathetic, yet still organic to the storyline. Simply just reveal that he's a regretful spirit from the beginning, and have it so he has the knowledge of clue locations, but due to the curse, can only reveal the information in riddles, and along the way drop hints about he came to be trapped, leading to that final reveal. Something like this has been done much better in other media. Take the Sith Lord Junta Paul from Knights of the Old Republic. He doesn't come out threatening the player immediately upon meeting him, rather he's remorseful and regrets all of his past actions. He's eventually put to rest and becomes one with the Force, accepting all of his actions. A short but interesting encounter that felt organic. As for Renee, the sun turn again just feels completely unnatural. Anyway, as the curse descends, Renee continues to fall more into doubt, but is eventually rallied by Misty and her friends. And as far as Misty's arc goes at this point, it's been handled decently. We do see her confidence grow in each issue, despite her repeated downer moments. And we do see her assertiveness shine through once again, and it finally brings Renee out of his funk, and Misty shakes off her final doubts, realizing that she's a beacon of hope for those who are lost and that she can bring back to the light. Anyway, through the power of friendship, they all overcome the curse and every pony is released. And Renee has even become the new Main Six's friend. Alrighty, so that was the Maritime Mysteries IDW Comics arc. How was it? It's okay. Like I said, there was a reason I skipped this arc initially and jumped to the Storm of Zephyr Heights. The story wasn't as well told or as epic. It had a solid start with some minor issues here and there. The adventure itself was alright, again, not as epic as the Storm of Zephyr Heights. What mostly bothered me was some of the pacing issues, like Misty's repetitive downer moments, and Renee's sun face turn was just awkward. Not the worst of the series, but still better than Camp Big Hoof and the Kentucky Roller Derby. Check it out and let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments below. Well, that's it for today, guys. Until next time, MC out!